Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to buckle up and dive into the wild world of the Mark Warsh Show. Tonight, we're dishing out the juiciest stories from the smoking hot Biden family barbecue to the Dutch farmers raising the stakes in climate policy. We'll also take you to Portland, where crime rates are climbing higher than a tree-hugging squirrel. And finally, we'll be navigating the stormy seas of the Silicon Valley bank collapse. So grab your popcorn and settle in, because we're about to reveal the truths that'll have you laughing, crying, and gasping, all in one roller coaster of a ride. Well, folks, it looks like we've got ourselves another Biden family reunion, only this time it's a business affair. The House Oversight Committee's investigation into Hunter Biden and his family's business dealings is getting hotter than a southern summer barbecue. It seems Hallie Biden, widow of President Biden's son Beau, is now part of the probe, receiving payments from a Chinese company deal. Now, that's what I call keeping it all in the family. Apparently, Hallie received two separate payments totaling $35,000 in 2017 from a $3 million deal made by Hunter's associate with a Chinese company. And all of this happened while good old Joe was serving as vice president. You'd think they'd be more careful with their money and business connections, but I guess some families just can't resist the allure of the dollar. Now, let's be clear, there's no evidence of any illegal activity by the Biden family, but when it comes to conflicts of interest, it looks like the Bidens might be playing a game of Monopoly. Some critics are worried that these financial ties could pose a conflict of interest for the president, who has sought to take a tough stance on China in areas such as trade and national security. It's tough to stay tough when your family's got its hands in the Chinese cookie jar, isn't it? The president and his family have denied any wrongdoing and claimed they have not received any financial benefit from Hunter Biden's business ventures. It's as if they're saying, "What, us? No, we're just here for the fortune cookies." But if you ask me, it's hard to believe they haven't used their political connections to advance their financial interests, especially with all the connections popping up like daisies in spring. House Oversight Chair James Comer, a Republican from Kentucky, is leading the investigation. He's been digging into the Biden family's financial ties to China like a hound dog on the scent. We can expect more details to emerge in the coming months, and it'll be interesting to see what other surprises are in store. In the meantime, let's remember that our great nation deserves leaders who are focused on its best interests, not just their own financial gain. We need to keep our eyes open and not let government narratives cloud our judgment. It's up to us to hold our leaders accountable and make sure they don't let personal business deals interfere with the well-being of our country. So as this story unfolds, remember to keep your sense of humor and don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. After all, laughter might be the best medicine, but a healthy dose of skepticism is a close second. And in this case, it looks like we might need a prescription for both. Well, folks, it seems that our friends across the pond are experiencing a bit of a kerfuffle regarding climate policies. Dutch farmers have been crying foul as their government tries to reduce nitrogen emissions, and they've taken their grievances to the streets. But it's no wonder that the Farmer Citizen Movement Party, or the Boerburger Beweging, BBB if you want to practice your Dutch, raked in a whopping 15 seats in a recent election, too. Now, that's what I call a grassroots movement. These farmers are fed up with the government's plans to cut back on livestock numbers and buy out farms. So you could say they're having a bit of a beef with the powers that be. When it comes to nitrogen emissions, it's a tricky situation. On one hand, nitrogen is essential for plant and animal growth, but on the other hand, too much of it can lead to eutrophication, which is when algae blooms in waterways, causing a lack of oxygen and harmful toxins for marine life. It's a real fishy predicament, if you ask me. The farmers' concerns are no laughing matter, though. They're worried that these government policies will significantly impact their livelihoods. This is a classic case of the government biting the hand that feeds them, wouldn't you agree? The Farmer Citizen Movement Party's recent victory sends a clear message that the government needs to take a long, hard look at their environmental policies and consider the real-world implications for the folks who put food on our tables. Now, I'm not one to play favorites, but it seems that the government's response to the nitrogen emissions issue has struck a nerve with the Dutch farming community. With over 10,000 farmers protesting in The Hague on March 11th, 2023, it's clear that they won't be herded into compliance. They're making their voices heard. And that's something we can all learn from. In a world where everyone's looking out for their own interests, it's essential to remember the human element of these policies. Those hard-working farmers are just trying to make a living, and it's important that the government strike a balance between protecting the environment and supporting the people who rely on agriculture for their livelihoods. So, as we watch the situation unfold in Europe, let's keep in mind that finding a solution to environmental issues is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Sometimes you need to dig a little deeper, get your hands dirty, and work together to find a compromise that benefits everyone. After all, isn't that what good governance is all about? Let's hope our friends in Europe can find a way to cultivate a better understanding between the government and their farmers, because when it comes to climate policies, the stakes are high. Welcome to the Mark Warsh Show, where we serve up the news with a side of humor and a dash of spice. Well, folks, it seems like Portland, Oregon has gotten itself into quite the pickle. The city's crime crisis is escalating, with over 300 criminal cases dismissed, including some mighty serious ones like felony theft and possession of a stolen vehicle. Businesses are scrambling out of the city faster than a squirrel from a hound dog, leaving residents anxious about their homes becoming the next targets. Now let's take a gander at the numbers, shall we? The FBI's report shows that Portland's violent crime rate has been jumping higher than a jackrabbit, with a significant increase in murder, rape, and robbery in 2022 compared to the previous year one. And it's not just the crime rates hitting the roof. Homelessness is also rising like a homemade biscuit in the oven, which has contributed to theft and other crimes. But you know what they say? Desperate times call for desperate measures. Some Portland residents have taken matters into their own hands, formulating neighborhood watch groups to protect their homes and businesses. It's like the good old days when we used to watch out for each other. But as admirable as that is, it ain't no long-term solution, and many residents are calling on the city's leaders to tackle the root causes of this crime crisis, like poverty and the lack of affordable housing. 3. Now let's talk Turkey. The city's leaders have been taking some heat for their handling of the situation, and I reckon they deserve it. Residents are hankering for a better response and more action, calling for either an increased police presence or social programs to help those in need. 4, 5. It's like trying to decide between grandma's apple pie or her pecan pie. Either way, something's got to give. So what's the takeaway here? Portland's in a real sticky wicket. The crime crisis is getting worse, with dismissed cases and businesses hightailing it out of town. Residents are more jittery than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, and they're calling on the city's leaders to step up and do something about it. But so far, those leaders are dancing around the issue like a chicken on a hot griddle. While neighborhood watch groups are doing their darndest, the city needs to address the root causes of this problem. Poverty, lack of affordable housing, and homelessness, these are the issues that need to be tackled head on. And as the saying goes, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. So let's hope the city's leaders get cracking soon, or Portland might just find itself in a whole heap of trouble. Well, folks, it looks like we've got ourselves a good old-fashioned bank collapse on our hands. President Biden and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen have stepped up to the plate, declaring there will be no bailout for Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, the 16th largest bank in the good old U.S. of A. They say no taxpayer money will be going down the drain with this one. 3. Now, that's a statement I can bank on. It seems our commander-in-chief is pretty chummy with the Federal Reserve's response to the SVB collapse. 4. And he's gearing up to tackle deposits and closures. Biden's top economic advisor, Lael Brainerd, and Yellen have been busy bees, working with financial regulators to make sure this mess doesn't spread any further. 5. I've got to say, it's about time our leaders put their money where their mouths are. But hold on to your hats, folks. An economist has come out of the woodwork, throwing a wrench into Biden's claim that taxpayers won't bear the burden of a bailout for SVB 6. This has sparked a fiery debate on the government's role in regulating banks and their risks. It's like deja vu. We're right back to the 2008 financial crisis. As an upstanding citizen, I can't help but wonder if our leaders are playing a game of Biden says with the American people. We've seen this rodeo before, and it's no bull. The financial stakes are high, and taxpayers are often left holding the bag. Now, I'm no mathematician, but if an economist says a bailout for SVB would cost taxpayers 6, shouldn't we give that some thought? In the spirit of transparency, it would be nice to see our government lay all the cards on the table. It's like my grandpappy used to say, you can't fix a problem if you don't know how deep the hole goes. But don't lose faith just yet, friends. We've weathered storms before, and we'll weather this one too. With a little elbow grease and some good old-fashioned American ingenuity, we might just come out the other side stronger than ever. As we navigate this financial roller coaster, let's remember that our great nation was built on the principles of faith, family, and freedom. It's up to each and every one of us to hold our leaders accountable and demand that they prioritize the best interests of the United States, not just their own wallets. So let's keep our eyes on the prize, America. In the words of the great Benjamin Franklin, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Let's stay informed and make sure our government is banking on the right decisions for our future. Ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up another fantastic episode of The Mark Warsh Show, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for spending your valuable time with us. It's you, our amazing audience, who truly make this show special. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. I encourage you to connect with me on social media where we can keep the discussions going and share even more insights, laughs, and thought-provoking moments. If you enjoyed the show, and if I've earned it, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to bring you the stories that matter most. So until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. This is Mark Warsh, signing off and reminding you that together we can make a positive impact on the world around us.